Hello, and welcome to ArchiCAD 101. My name is Joseph Schroeder. I'm a Design and Arts graduate, and I'm now working as a architectural designer in Christchurch. Now, I know that ArchiCAD can be a little bit of a monster. When I picked this up, I was a little bit of a computer kid by this time. I had worked with some other CAD programs, some computer-aided design programs, and I picked it up relatively quickly, and I started helping other people in my class. But I found that ArchiCAD is not an intuitive program, and not everyone picks it up really quickly. So I've designed this course to help people get from start to being really competent with ArchiCAD. So this course sort of works on the premises of the 80-20 principle, which sort of says that 20% of the tools in ArchiCAD will get you 80% of the way. You'll use them 80% of the time. And as you look in ArchiCAD, you can see that there are a ton of tools, and each one of these tools has a new window, and each one of these settings has heaps of options, and what do all these options mean? So don't worry, you're not ever going to have to worry about what all of these options mean. But I want to teach you the 20% that will help you most of the way. So I've designed this course to run from start to finish, and it runs in a sort of a spiral pattern. What I mean by that is that I want to help build a sort of foundation of general knowledge and then build on top of that in specific tools. So in this course we're going to be building this 3D model. Now this is a model of a pretty standard New Zealand house, and we're also going to be producing some 2D drawings as well. These are called layouts. We're going to create layouts so we can print them out. Now, some of this course will be delivered as concepts, and other lessons will be how to use specific tools. So to start off with, let's get this lesson underway, and the first lesson will be on two sort of key concepts. Now, these are sort of the most out there concepts, and you don't have to fully understand them right today, but just have them in the back of your head, and sooner or later you'll find them helpful. So the first concept is that ArchiCAD works in vectors. Now, maybe most people know what pixels are, and here I've got two pictures. You can see two plans of a house. A plan is the sort of bird's eye view of a house. Now, they both look fairly similar, like these texts have this box around it, this text doesn't. This looks a little bit cleaner somewhere. But this is a pixel-based image. This is a JPEG. Like I've taken a snapshot of this and placed it. I've taken a snapshot of this model here and placed it in ArchiCAD. And I'll explain what that means later. But what we know from pixels is that they're made up of tiny little squares. Imagine having a paintbrush, and instead of painting strokes or lines, you just put the paintbrush into the paint and only drew dots on the page. And if you zoom out far enough, you can make those dots look like a picture. So I'm going to show you what I mean by zooming into this picture here. Now, as we look at this, it looks pretty decently high quality, and if we look in closer and closer, it starts to lose its quality, and then we realize that actually these lines are just made up of a series of squares, and these squares are called pixels. Each one of these little squares here is a pixel of a different color. Now, ArchiCAD works in a slightly different way. It works in a sort of mathematical pattern, where it's like it's drawing in a graph paper and it's saying the relationship between this line and that line. Now, you don't really have to understand that, but just realize that it means that the quality will always be high, no matter how closely we zoom on this. So if we zoom in here, we can see that everything's still nice. If we look at this tap up really close, you can see all the detail stays there. If we look at one of these angles, it just keeps on becoming nicer and nicer. Now what this means is that we can draw it at one scale and print it out at many other scales. If we tried to take more information from this, we lose it. If we try and take more information from this, we still have it. So that's one of the key advantages of ArchiCAD. One of the other things that I want to explain right now is that ArchiCAD draws in 1:1. Now what I mean by that is we can see that this wall here is 1,000 millimeters long. Just for reference, we're usually going to be drawing in millimeters. Now that means that in this model, this wall is 1,000 millimeters long, and I can see that. Distance 1,000. That means that every time you want to draw something, you draw it at the size that you really think it's supposed to be. And then once we put it into a layout like this, I'll show you what a layout looks like. So this might be what a typical layout looks like, and this is an A3 piece of paper, and we're laying it out on the page so that it prints nicely. We're printing this at a scale of 1:100, which means it's shrinking it down 100 times to fit onto this page. And on this page, it's 1:100, but when you're drawing it in space, it's 1:1. Maybe a funny concept to think of at the moment, but keep it in the back of your mind. Don't try and fully understand it now, but it'll make a lot more sense as you go on. Now the other thing that I wanted to show you, the other concept that I wanted to explain in this first video, is that ArchiCAD draws in 3D and 2D at the same time. Now I'll show you what this means. I'm gonna draw something here. So this is a slab. It's a big flat floor basically, and I'm going to draw a wall, maybe a few walls. Now you can see that this has come up here in 2D. This has made a big box and this sort of jagged line. Now it's not only made it in 2D, it's not only made it in this place that I could eventually put into a layout and print out, it's also made it in 3D. So if I have a look at this, I'm going to show a selection marquee in 3D, show what I've just made in 3D, and have a look at this. You can see that it's made the slab and these walls in this jagged line. Now, it not only gives me a picture of an idea of what this object looks like, but I can also change it in here. So if I grab this point and I change that, I make this wall a bit longer, and I move this one over here. Now if I look back into 2D, you can see that it's all changed. So it updates everything that I change in 3D and 2D, and everything that I change in 2D back into 3D. That's really helpful. So when I say that we build this model, we build it in 2D, and then we check it out in 3D. Maybe if we want to change something, maybe if we think it's a bit easier to change something in 3D, then we can jump into our 3D window and change it there. If we think that it's easier to change it in the 2D window, then we jump back into there. So, in the next lesson, we're going to open up ArchiCAD and have a wee look around and get familiar with our space, and we'll start a lesson.